Proceed.
3, 2, 1, and go.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Aleph Podcast. Here we are again with another episode. Today we have the two boys from Aag,
Hey man,
Haroon and Usman.
what's up?
How are you guys?
How you doing?
Good. Good.
कैसे यार?
You just arrived from Russia?
Yeah, I just got back last night landed here
चेक करो.
Nice.
after a 9-hour flight जिसमें एक stopover था शारजा में और मॉस्को से शारजा तक की फ्लाइट का एक वाइब थी और फिर शारजा से कराची की एक और वाइब थी बिल्कुल.
What is the Moscow to Sharjah vibe like? What
Moscow
kind of
to
people
Sharjah-
are on that flight?
Primarily Russians going to Sharjah to I don't know do what
To go to Dubai,
Probably,
basically.
and lots
Business
of
type people.
नहीं lots of families
अच्छा.
type Russian families
Chill out करने.
छोटे छोटे बच्चे
हाँ उधर तो अभी ठंड शुरू हो गई होगी.
ठंड हाँ minus अभी start हुआ था -4 type
That's probably why they're traveling to get away from all that cold.
But it was a good flight. The fun thing about that flight was, which was like new to me, and I've never experienced that before, is कि plane जब land हुआ है ना, तो जैसे ही वो touchdown हुआ है, तो everybody starts clapping.
Oh,
Ah,
ये मैंने कहा ये क्या हो रहा है?
बस छोटी खुशियाँ.
Cute था काफी. मैंने कहा यार ये अच्छा है.
good job,
Nice.
Mr. Pilot.
So why don't we start with a little bit of history for those that might not be aware of you guys.
Sure.
So when did your musical journeys begin?
Professionally, I would say 2006 is when the band was formed. But like we've been doing music for as long as we can remember because he's my brother.
Yeah.
So
That is the reason why we've been doing music for as long as we know.
yeah.
Because I'm his brother.
Yeah, well. So I think
So you presumably picked up an instrument.
I picked up the
first.
guitar when I was 13,
Yeah.
and he got drums on his 9th birthday, 7th birthday,
9th birthday, yeah.
तुम लोग
We
का
both
age gap कितना है?
6 years.
6 साल का. हाँ.
मैं बहुत बुजुर्ग आदमी हूँ.
हाँ, लेकिन बाल सफेद मेरी दाढ़ी के लेकिन.
वो मैंने groom maintain किया.
अच्छा, हाँ. Looks so natural, no one can
So
tell.
yeah, like it started 2006. First song came out 2009.
Mhm.
It was Aag, our title track. Got kind of a hit back then. ये नए channel सारे TV
उस
के
वक्त तो आग टीवी भी था.
आग टीवी भी था और बहुत कंफ्यूजन थी इस बारे में कि
आग टीवी पे
आग,
आग बैंड का
आग।
आग गाना चल रहा था.
आप उनका ऑफिशियल बैंड है ना. आग भाई कहते थे.
आग भाई कहते थे हम दोनों को.
आग भाई यार आग भाई तो नहीं हुआ. तो हाँ और फिर उसके बाद बस like one after the other क्या कहते हैं just kept putting out songs, singles mostly, and came out with our album. वो सारे singles जो इकट्ठे करके अभी मैंने पिछले साल हमने फेंक दिए बाहर.
Yeah.
Because we
The
were working on a
compilation
lot
album.
of we were working on a lot of commercial projects, तो वो we couldn't really focus on our music.
Yeah.
तो वो जो सारा कचरा जमा हुआ था वो
Hmm.
मैंने एक album में डाल दिया.
हाँ.
अब वो it's out.
Nice. But were you guys self-producing from the beginning?
Yeah.
Yes. We didn't have a choice.
The first two songs we recorded somewhere,
हाँ.
but like we then ended up mixing them ourselves eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And since then we were just like, well, if we know what we want, and
No one
yani
can do it.
compared to
you
nowadays,
want.
yani 2006-7 का studio scene तो कुछ और ही होता था.
बिल्कुल हाँ.
Yeah,
And
almost.
back then like nobody really knew how to produce the rock, the
Yeah.
hard rock sound.
Yeah.
you
हाँ.
know.
Yeah.
तो just had to do it. Had
हम
to
ज़्यादा
learn
किसी से amp mic नहीं होता था.
हाँ.
यानी confusing ordeal था.
Even though at that time the virtual amps and all were really bad.
हाँ, they were.
हाँ.
They
वो
were
तो कोई scene ही नहीं था.
absolute trash.
वो तो option ही नहीं था.
Yeah.
वो तो option ही नहीं
Pod XT Live के कितने gigs बजाए हम सब ने
Oh, no.
उस दौर में.
था. मुझे याद है मैं कॉलेज में था तो एक गाना मेरे पास था तभी भी उस्मान रियाद में होता था ये भी यानी आया था तो मैं वो गाना लेके मैंने सुने सबके कि कौन क्या प्रोड्यूस कर रहा है तो टर्न आउट कि अच्छा जुल्फी के थोड़े एक डिसेंट एक
मंजिल की
साउंड है.
बात हो रही है.
हाँ
मंजिल की बात हो रही है.
हाँ.
अच्छा. Continue.
तो मैं वो लेके जुल्फी भाई के पास गया हूँ और उस टाइम मैंने उनसे पूछा कि भाई क्या सीन है. बहुत आला क्या बात है यार इसे मैं ब्लैक होल सन जैसी इसकी साउंड बना दूंगा. मैंने कहा चलो बहुत आला यार ये तो बड़ा प्रॉमिसिंग सीन लग रहा है. फिर उसके बाद वो बिजी इतना थे कि वो नहीं हुआ. फिर मैं रोज उधर जाके
वो दौर है ना मैं
घंटी
जुल्फी
बजाता
बस
था. मैं कहता जुल्फी भाई है नहीं बेटे वो तो अभी सो रहा है. अब भी सोया है वो. तो वो 3-4 दफा ऐसे हुआ. मैंने कहा यार ऐसे तो नहीं होगा खुद ही करना पड़ेगा. तो that's how we literally got into it. फिर ये आ गया था तो उस टाइम एज ये थी हमारे पास कि किसी जैसे आज भी है किसी के पास ड्रमर नहीं होता.
हाँ.
एक ड्रमर 100 बैंड्स का ड्रमर होता है.
Exactly.
तो उस टाइम हमारे पास ये एज थी कि हमारे पास ड्रमर
अपना ड्रमर
ठीक है
in house. Yeah.
Tale as old as time वाला चक्कर ना.
तो उसकी वजह से उस दौर में काफी गिग्स किए हमने.
Nice. So what was it like coming from Saudi to Pakistan? And what age did you come here?
At what age did I come here? I came here for college.
Okay, so you pretty much grew up in Saudi.
No, a part of my schooling was in Pakistan.
Okay.
Like right up till grade 8. And then I went to Saudi for my O and A levels. And then I came back.
Pretty similar. I spent more time in Saudi because I was younger when we moved.
He spent more time.
And then I moved back after like my high
Was there any music scene there?
यार सऊदी में म्यूजिक सीन ये था मैं आपको बता देता हूँ क्या था. There were only 2 people. Well, when we were there, both of us, there were 3 people. But after he left, there were 2 people. In all of Saudi that played guitar knowingly. There was me. And there was this guy John, this Filipino dude, who used to wash dishes at a restaurant called Steakhouse.
Okay.
ठीक है. And he was like a blues player, pretty good.
Yeah.
So we were the only 2 people who had guitar students.
Wow.
From what I know and remember.
I have history with John.
Oh yes, you do have a history with John.
John ने मुझे duo पे challenge किया था एक point पे and then he didn't show up.
That was actually a student. I found out there was this whole story. Okay, so this is like in the.
तू बहुत बड़ा गिटार प्लेयर है. मैं कहा नहीं मैं तो नहीं हूँ.
I
समझता है.
I tell it better.
John तो बुला रहा है.
It's like the mid 2000s.
Yeah.
ठीक है ना, and everyone, even if you listen to like rock and like play guitar, everyone's really influenced by hip hop culture, beefs and stuff, and 50 Cent and Ja Rule and all those. So they wanted to set up a beef, like just like make one between Haroon and John.
Yeah.
ठीक है, वो अपनी job कर रहा है बंदा ये अपने.
I was in school, man.
ठीक है.
I didn't know anything about anything.
Now he had students and he had friends and he just went like one of his students came up and went like, you know, John wants to battle you. And I was like,
who the hell is John?
Like some like Yu-Gi-Oh shit. Like क्या? तो नहीं वो गिटार बैटल करेंगे और मुकाबला होगा पता नहीं क्या होगा. I was like,
and John told me to give you a message that you can't play for shit. Like I don't even know who this guy is. Like who is John?
Who is John?
मुझे नहीं पता mystery थी मेरे लिए. John कौन है?
Yeah. John Con.
Well,
John Con.
It's like those Joy-Con controllers. This is John holding a guitar.
So that was pretty much the
So
scene.
basically it was even
know.
more limited than here.
There was basically more or
But
less.
the good thing about Saudi was कि वो guitar shops और ये चीजें थी. So you could get like good equipment even back then.
There was
It's
one.
kind of a paradox. Like
It is.
scene नहीं था लेकिन gear available
है.
था.
Gear available था.
यहाँ बजाते कुछ लोग हैं लेकिन gear कुछ भी नहीं है.
पता नहीं क्या
Opposite.
scene. हाँ, opposite scenes.
So yeah, but interesting. So then, what made you like? Did you know off the bat that this was going to be your career, or was it a side thing to begin with?
No, like it was always going to be the career.
Okay.
I don't think it's ever been a side thing.
And it wasn't even like we were thinking about a career. We just knew that this is what we do and this is what we do best. So this is what's going to happen.
We like playing music.
We didn't think that far ahead.
Right. And did you have any kind of familial pressure to change course, or did you get supported?
No, like to pretty honestly, our parents didn't give a.
I think whatever pressure, yeah, truly, our parents. I think whatever pressure we had was not very proactive. It was always suggestive कि अच्छा बेटे काम तो सही है अच्छा आप अच्छा करते हो लेकिन हॉबी रखो ना ऐसे तो फिर एक्चुअल में क्या करना है
Actually.
तो फिर आप कहते
suggestive
हो
था
यार
लेकिन there was
यही
no
करना है
pressure. There was वो नहीं था.
It wasn't heavy.
हाँ
नहीं.
ठीक है ना तो it wasn't like something overbearing or intense that we couldn't.
That's nice. You're lucky.
We've been lucky
in that regard. The reason is that my dad like he used to sing back when he was in college and then he was like
That
the
would do
college
it.
ka singer type
You're
inside.
vicariously like living out his dreams.
Yes.
So both our parents are great singers.
Failing miserably.
Nice.
ठीक है ना
But that's cool. So then, you know, what has been your, then what was the next stage after that, like when you got into it, at what point you realized कि सिर्फ अपना म्यूजिक से काम नहीं चलेगा, कुछ औरों का म्यूजिक भी बनाना पड़ेगा?
वो हुआ ये था कि मैं ग्रेजुएट हुआ.
That was much later.
हाँ, like I went to NCA.
Yeah.
वहाँ से मैं ग्रेजुएट हूँ, 4 साल मैं उधर टाइम ज़ाया करके, और फिर जब बाहर निकला हूँ तो बेसिकली जो था वो यही था कि बेटे अब करो जो करना है,
What
enjoy
did you study
करो.
at NCA?
फिल्म मेकिंग. तो उसके बाद यही था कि यार अच्छा, पैसे तो घर से मिलने बिल्कुल ही बंद हो गए हैं, तो कुछ करना पड़ेगा. तो जो थोड़ा बहुत पॉकेट मनी सेव की हुई थी, वो इंटरफेस वगैरह जो 1-2 चीज़ें पकड़ी हुई थी, जस्ट लाइक स्टार्टेड इन एन एम्प्टी रूम इन द हाउस.
Yeah.
तो गद्दे शद्दे लगा के
The green room we called it because it was painted green from head to toe.
That
It
was
the most nauseating thing.
that was our failed attempt to try to like
Just make it look cool.
make it look cool. It didn't look
Yeah.
cool at all. It looked
Failed
bad. It
miserably.
looked horrible.
Looked so shady. Oh my god.
तो बस उस टाइम फिर the need was कि भाई अपने आप को सपोर्ट करना है, और this is what we do best, and करना भी नहीं आता था.
Yeah.
अभी प्रोड्यूस करना नहीं आता था,
Yeah.
लेकिन just got into it कि चलो let's figure it out. एक अपना गाना किया, 1-2 किए,
I
चलो.
remember the first few things we produced. I say that in jest. Is we didn't even have an interface at the time. What we had is hi-fi speakers and like a Pod X3 Live,
Okay.
right? So I remember we used the mic input on that to record all the mic stuff.
Oh wow.
ठीक है ना? And we made like
और उसका line output.
हाँ,
Basically.
ठीक है ना?
Basically.
And we recorded like a bunch of songs like that.
काफी
ठीक है ना?
artists record किए pod पे.
हाँ, like the demo. The demo was on a pod.
हाँ demo भी.
ठीक है ना? हाँ, the demo we made for Kafla was on pod.
Nice.
तो इस तरह से शुरू हुआ था. और शुरू इसलिए हुआ था because basically, you know, he had graduated. I was still in university, and I was like, I would come here, and then it would be like कि यार अब अपनी चीज़ें करनी है, ठीक है ना, equipment upgrade करनी है, ये करना है, music videos बनानी है, इस दौर की struggle. तो लेकिन पैसे तो हैं नहीं, तो क्या करना है? So let's record people, you know, we can get money in that way, we can get better at recording. So that's how we really started.
पैसे बिल्कुल नहीं होते थे यार. मतलब बाहर से जाके आइसक्रीम लेने के भी पैसे नहीं होते थे, ये वाला बात. लिटरली बहुत गंदा टाइम था. सिगरेट भी नहीं ले सकते थे. हर सूटे वाले से उधार किया हुआ था. हर जगह से गालियां पड़ती थी. ठीक है, कोई दोस्त बनाए हुए थे जिनका उधार चलता था, तो उनके साथ जाके लिया करते थे. इस तरह के मतलब गंदे गंदे हालात हुए थे, क्योंकि पेरेंट्स ने कहा था कि भाईजान अब आप हैं ना, आप करें.
अब आपका करियर है तो.
But I guess that's, you know, in at the deep end is often the best way to learn.
It was.
Yeah.
It totally was.
You either learn to swim or you drown. So,
Yeah.
Thankfully.
But cutting to a different element of things, like, do you find back when, at that time when there were channels and stuff, when you released your first few songs, was it easier to get more views and more of an audience then than it is now?
Absolutely, I'd say.
Yeah.
The reason was कि उस time क्या कहते हैं, YouTube was just starting to, you know, like become a thing in Pakistan.
Definitely.
तो we were one of those like first bands जिन्होंने उस चीज को, उस opportunity को cash किया था.
Yeah, I remember we were one of the first bands that like had a Facebook page.
Yeah.
ठीक है ना?
Definitely.
Yeah.
One of the first few. हम थे, बिलाल खान था, 1-2 और लोग थे इस तरह.
Yeah, there were only a couple of people, the mainstream.
Because
people.
Facebook started in 2004.
Yeah, 4 or
Ish.
5, something like
Right.
that. Yeah.
And I had underground bands in 2002, 3.
Exactly.
But that was pre-Facebook.
That was the peak of the underground.
Yeah, yeah.
Basically, what you've seen.
Yeah.
That was as good as underground got. Like
You actually made money on your underground shows.
So I've heard.
मतलब 6-7 हज़ार का venue book कर रहे हो, 3-4 हज़ार की sound आ रही है.
Crazy है.
टिकटें बेच रहे हो, कुछ कर रहे हो.
लोग आ रहे हैं, 100-200 लोग आ रहे हैं, like because they had nothing else to do.
लोग आ जाते थे, ये बड़ा एक फिट बात है.
Yeah, and they would, उनके फड्डे भी उधर हो रहे हैं. Everything is like, come to the show.
Social media नहीं था ना.
There were those shows ना.
To go out, I guess.
There were those shows ना जहाँ दूसरे bands और उनके दोस्त और उनकी girlfriends और boyfriends आए हुए होते हैं.
It was like the place you could hang out.
Exactly.
because they weren't even malls back then.
But you're talking about Karachi.
Yeah, I'm talking about Karachi.
अच्छा, Lahore had this similar scene.
Yeah.
वहाँ पे
More or less,
EP वगैरह जो है वो rise up हो रहे थे उस
Entity
time
and
पे.
Paradigm.
हाँ.
ये नए नए
Entity,
EP
Paradigm
बने
होता था,
थे अभी
Seth एक बैंड होता था.
इनसे
खुर्रम वकार का भी था.
Turned into Incision.
नाम
नाम या
नाम
नाम
हाँ,
होता था.
इस्लामाबाद सीन के लोग
हाँ.
और खुर्रमकार I think
And
used to
Coven
be an
था.
entity.
Coven था. Yeah.
हाँ.
Coven is one of my favorite Pakistani bands.
one of the more legit bands that's come out of Pakistan.
हाँ वो शुरू से पक्के थे बहुत
बिल्कुल.
वो शुरू से
Absolutely. One of my favorite Pakistani bands. actually.
Definitely.
To
Definitely
this
up there
to
for
this
me
day,
also.
yeah.
Definitely.
So then let's fast forward a bit. So how did the Nescafe thing happen?
Oh.
And how much further along the line are we in terms of timeline?
Oh, acha, well, that
This
is
is
more
2000
like
what?
13 probably,
Maybe.
something like that.
Yeah.
Another
12,
after
13.
6-7 years
End
down.
of 12.
हाँ,
Beginning of
ठीक है ना हाँ तो I just remember like I think they had made a season 1 and released it and I
You were in it since
since two since season 2 तो I'd caught a glimpse of season 1 और मैं देखा था और मैं कहा था चलो यंग लोगों को कुछ कर रहा है
हाँ.
अच्छी बात है
हाँ.
it's not super polished but
Yeah.
I think if they keep doing it it
Get
will
better.
be
Yeah.
और I remember कि Zulfi गिरा रहा था I'm like well yes because he does sort of spearhead certain things
Yeah.
ठीक है ना तो it made sense
Yeah.
मैं कहा चलो कोई नहीं अगले साल देखते हैं little did we know अगले साल जो है हमने I had just I was practicing just some covers and this one cover I was playing I think you can find this on YouTube it was a cover of Satch Boogie ठीक है and Haroon had just come in and went like कि अच्छा बजा रहे हो मैं वीडियो बनाता हूँ तो I was like ठीक है लेकिन मैं फजूल बजा रहा हूँ cause मुझे हमेशा लगता है मैं फजूल बजा रहा हूँ ठीक है नहीं वीडियो बनाते हैं वीडियो बनाते हैं तो उसने वीडियो बनाई
Very
डाली
modest हो रहा है.
यानी ये यार वो कोई फील नहीं आती मुझे आज तक उसकी ठीक है ना तो थैंक यू लेकिन फिर उसने वीडियो बनाई and then he just that ended up on our PC and I looked at it and I wrote it off I was like
Yeah.
I think he shared it with some people
Yeah.
और वो जुल्फी के पास एंड अप हुई ठीक है और जुल्फी ने कॉल कर ली
जुल्फी ने कॉल कर ली
जुल्फी ने कॉल कर ली ठीक है तो मुझे आवाज आई मैं कह रहा है अस्सलाम वालेकुम उस्मान जुल्फी बोल रहा हूँ मुझे आवाज है मैंने इस तरह पहचाना कि हाँ यार ये वही धड़के जिया वाला वही बोल रहा है ठीक है ना हाँ वाकई में then he was like कि मैं season 2 बना रहा हूँ बेसमेंट का था I would love for you to be a part of it तो मैंने कहा I would love to be a part of it and we just had a meeting we talked about some songs we talked about an Aag song फिर से जो है he said that he really wanted it to do that in that season and if we could so you know we were good with that so we did it and just फिर उस तरह से एक scene शुरू हो
Made
गया
a kick-ass version of it.
हाँ
Yeah. Nice. So उससे did you get like more audience towards Aag from that? Did you feel any ancillary benefits from doing that?
I think we all everyone who was part of that
Yeah.
whether directly or indirectly just benefited from the whole thing क्योंकि scene में I can really
You
almost
kind of were brought into the official industry, right?
हाँ I can speak about the seasons that I was there
Yeah.
कि मुझे ये याद है कि जब हम season 2 किया था हमने तो there were some people who were season 1 people there were some new people like me ठीक है ना and I remember all of us working together was the most fun we had ever had like almost
That seemed
ठीक
like
है
a
ना
lot of fun.
Yeah.
I used to visit like
हाँ I used to visit the
every
jam
now
room
and then because I was not a part of it because उनकी कोई age limit type scene था.
तब एक इस तरह का
Second
scene
season में they
था
had.
You were already too old back
I was
then.
already too old. यार ये बुजुर्गों का आप बाबे हो गए हैं आप घर बैठे हैं.
ये अलग बात है अब तो हो गया ना ये अलग बात है कि उस टाइम पे people older than you were on the show. ठीक है?
यार मुझे तो यही बताया गया था, मैंने कहा ठीक है नहीं चाहिए तो मैं नहीं आता कोई.
I mean, but they were like, you know, one-offs, like they were on a song or two and they had a certain part.
I was actually offered on season 3.
हाँ,
Zulfi bhai
he was.
called me and कहा कि हाँ यार अब आ जाओ.
हाँ.
तो तब मैं एक अलग state of mind में था. तब I was like deep into, and you will relate with this, I was deep into, you know, like finding out about
The things.
Nestle का क्या scene है.
Oh yeah.
ये कंपनीज कहाँ हैं, ये कौन ओन करता है पीछे, पेरेंट कंपनीज क्या हैं, कौन लोग हैं जो कि वो रनिंग द शो, एंड वो मनी जो आता है इससे वो कहाँ यूज हो रहा है.
Exactly.
तो आई वाज like knees deep to put
So
it like nicely.
Did you just politely decline, or
I did. I told him, I was like very open about it. I told him कि यार जुल्फी भाई ये मेरा state of mind है इस वक्त. So even though I appreciate you reaching out to me and I would love to do something like this, you know, like and I love everything that you're doing, लेकिन
because the project is great,
ये
but
मुझे morally जो है मुझे तंग कर रहा है. मैं कैसे
अच्छा, my interaction with Zulfi bhai has been similar.
अच्छा.
Where he was doing the recent Coke
season
and coming out of his comfort zone in Lahore, coming to Karachi to do the season. You know, recording in a warehouse situation. He knew that he needed to do some overdubs, and he was like, there isn't a other place, you know, other than Aleph that, you know, has the facility for me to do something. But I was just like, you know, I don't know, like, I've said too much, I can't, and I don't feel right doing anything Coke.
Right.
But then he asked me 2-3 times, and then I was like, okay, if it's just me dealing with you and there's no other thing involved, other name, other characters, anything, then it can be done.
Anyone
who's
stuff, not a musician, basically.
Yeah.
I politely refused and I said thank you for the opportunity. Like, this is my state of mind right now. So he was actually like very mature about it. He said ke, like, I would love to have you, lekin I respect the fact ke agar tum is tarah soch rahe ho, you feel so strongly about it, तो कोई मसला नहीं, I understand it.
Yeah.
और ठीक है, कोई मसला नहीं, enjoy करो.
Yeah.
तो मैंने कहा,
actually, I mean, this might be a good segue into like, so what is the, now so many years into it, how do we tackle this issue where these brands who have certain now to it's very open what their vested interests are.
Yeah.
You know, and I think we can talk about it in the sense that Pakistan is perhaps, like we talked about, Saudi doesn't have that music scene. अब पूरे Middle East में देख लो उस तरह का scene नहीं.
I can't speak for now, but it's certainly at the
पूरे
time.
Middle East में like that power of music to awaken consciousness.
Oh yeah,
in
definitely.
youth, in the public.
It's
That
underdeveloped.
is, that potential is only there in Pakistan.
Absolutely.
Right?
Agreed.
Absolutely.
And these vested interest groups, let's say, are terrified of that potential.
Yeah.
And these shows are basically an attempt to cut it off at the knees, you know.
बिल्कुल.
Like, we will dictate what happens.
बिल्कुल. It's an attempt to control कि ये इससे पहले कि ऐसी direction में निकल जाए कि जहाँ it's beyond us and it influences the young minds in a way that is going against our agenda.
Yeah, or it's just not even the relevant बात ही नहीं हो रही. Covers कर रहे हैं from another era. Like, अभी की बात कर ही नहीं रहे, you know.
बिल्कुल.
So, and कभी करने की कोशिश कर दें तो वो आपको फिर लिरिक्स चेंज करा देते हैं.
लेकिन पता है क्या, हमारे इंडस्ट्री का सीन इतना ऑफ हो चुका था तब तक जब ये लोग आए हैं
ऑलरेडी.
Already,
इनके आने से पहले तक इतना ऑफ हो चुका, बिकॉज थोड़ा सा एक बबल जो बर्स्ट हुआ था वो चैनल्स का आया था पीछे, ठीक है ना, बिफोर दिस, और वो बर्स्ट हो गया विद इन 2 or 3 years. और उसके बाद इतनी एक अनफॉर्चुनेट सिचुएशन थी हमारी म्यूजिक इंडस्ट्री की कि इनका आना एक्चुअली एक एंगल से बेनिफिशियल भी हो गया. ठीक है ना.
I mean, that's where they played it very smartly. They got all the goodwill in the early days, which they're still running off.
They definitely did.
And people had to do what they had to do for their paychecks. You know, they had to make the choice. Okay, am I I'm sure, like, dude, as musicians are, you know, we're like deep thinkers. We're always thinking, analyzing, you know, everything, every little thing.
Overthinking, actually.
हाँ.
Yeah.
That's
Over. बिल्कुल.
तो मतलब I cannot for the life of me believe कि किसी को ये like this is just you and me problem. I don't think so. I think everybody struggled
Yeah.
to some degree about, okay, are we supposed to do this? Are we not? Like when it came down to, okay, it's a paycheck, so people chose that.
Yeah, and I guess once you do get the limelight, it's hard to turn away from it, or just suddenly say no to all this easy way to get into the front of millions of eyeballs and try to build something yourself.
Right.
Like, because I've seen the coin from both sides. I've seen the coin from when I had some following, you know, like people knew me and they were starting to know us as a band. And I, like, even though you were a part of Basement and I refused, I cannot be a part of it because for me it was my personal choice. I didn't want the band to be, you know, affected by it because the band is us too.
Yeah.
And whatever goes down is like both our mutual decision. So we didn't see face to face in that us time.
No, we didn't.
Because I was like, I can't do it, and you were like, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
And मैंने वो side भी देखी coin की, and then recently when we did Velo Sound Station, ठीक है ना, I became a part of it.
Yeah.
And I actually, like, we produced like that show with Bilal Maqsood, like a lot of songs in there.
Yeah.
And I saw the other side of it. What's it like to be a part of it?
Yeah.
And I also kind of touched a little bit when we were invited to Coke Studio in season 4, was it?
5.
5.
Season 5.
तो मतलब मैंने दोनों तरफ से देखा है, and I've seen the pros and cons of both sides.
So what would you say, like, having seen both sides, like, what is your take on it?
Yeah, it like truly it really comes down to the people that you're working with.
Yeah.
ठीक है ना? If the people that you're working with are, you know, the kind of people who understand where you're coming from, and they're able to direct you according to what they see as your thing, so they can get that potential out of you and create something that's meaningful while having the flag of that brand over you.
Right. I mean,
So
do you
you're
see
able
it
to
as
still-
somewhat like a Trojan horse thing in
well, in a
terms
way
of
you could-
justifying it for yourself?
In a way you could see it like that, but in a way you could see it like क्या कहते हैं,
I think
if I had to choose between putting nothing out versus putting something out that is not 100% washed into some क्या कहते हैं brands इश्तिहार.
That's a really good point.
Do you get it? So I would choose something I would say कि अच्छा ठीक है, this is still a part of me that is going out. So it's still conveying something that I want to, that I would have done anyway. But the good side is now it reaches more people.
I think that's
So
a
that's
really
the good
point.
side that I see off of it.
Because I think what I agree with you there. I think what that basically means for me is that, like, music, when you create music, you're either genuine with what you're creating or you can be disingenuous.
Yeah.
And for musicians and even for just listeners, it's very obvious which is happening when. ठीक है ना?
Yeah.
So I think music that is created genuinely for the purpose of creating something to move
Although
people.
I will challenge that a little bit because I think the point of disingenuity is getting lost on masses more and more.
Well, yeah, well,
because most of it is disingenuous now.
Yeah, but you can say that about just about anything.
Yeah.
Okay, now overall the world is becoming a bit
Bilkul.
more, you know, exploitative and less genuine with what they're doing.
Yeah.
But I think anything that is made for the sake of creating something to connect with people, which is what we all do.
Yeah.
ठीक है ना? It will connect in spite of agendas. ठीक है ना? So that's like the
You
unknown.
can transcend the agenda.
That's the unknown that they can't control.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
ठीक है ना?
Yeah.
So I think if you have a chance to do that
Yeah.
on like quote unquote the enemy's dime,
Yeah.
ठीक है ना? So that's like great because that's music winning over. ठीक है ना?
Fair.
So I think these things are like opportunities to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
तो ये अब आप पे है कि आप म्यूजिक क्यों बना रहे हो, ठीक है ना? आपने गाड़ियाँ खरीदनी है,
Yeah.
ठीक है ना? या आपने कनेक्ट करना है लोगों से, क्या करना है?
And even before any of that, like, at least for me, and I think I'm sure for you guys, you would probably resonate, like, we are, as creative people, as artists, we feel, you could say, more
Yeah.
than the average person does, or we
Absolutely.
allow ourselves to feel more.
Absolutely.
And at the same time, when you're feeling things, then given the way the world is, a lot of the time those are negative feelings, right?
It's a blessing and a curse
And
to,
so
to see the world for
to
what
be
it
an
is.
empath, right?
To see the world for what it is.
But to get over those feelings, music is a tool. You
I think I have-
encapsulate your feelings, you put it out, you
I have a
release them.
slightly
agree.
different perspective on this. I don't necessarily think we feel more.
Hmm.
I think everyone feels very intensely,
Hmm.
especially things that are very relevant or related to them
Hmm.
and are relatable.
Hmm.
But I think as artists, हमारे में कीड़ा होता है एक express करने का.
हाँ,
ठीक है.
and in a way it's your job.
Exactly, और
Right.
हमारा काम ही है express करना, ठीक है, in whatever art form that we
Yeah,
choose to
Yeah.
do.
yeah.
तो-
And it's a responsibility.
हाँ है, क्योंकि अब artist बन
Because-
गए हो.
Huh, so you have to present the feelings of a certain segment of society or whoever you represent.
Of
You
course.
have to go forward with what they might be feeling in
Even
an honest
just
way.
with yourself, you
You know?
start with yourself, and there may be people that will relate to you.
Absolutely.
And I hardly find anyone, most of the time, having any sort of a feeling that someone else couldn't relate to.
Yeah, yeah.
Most of us relate to a lot of things that we go through.
Absolutely. Wait, Aleph, again, you know,
Exactly.
it's all
मैं थोड़ा सा
connected.
disagree करता हूँ तेरे से क्योंकि I think कि
तो हारून ऐसे disagree
हाँ
करता
मैं हारूं मैं नहीं खेलता नहीं क्या कहते हैं the thing is कि I've seen people who are incapable of feeling things to the degree that you know, like I've seen
Yeah.
you know
That is
musicians
there
or empaths feel
Yeah.
ठीक है ना? And it's not to say that like I'm not coming from a space of के like we're superior or anything like not like it's a fact is a fact, you know, call spade a spade.
Yeah.
ठीक है, I've seen people उनका नहीं वहाँ तक सोच जाती और नहीं जाती and you can't blame them, उनका frame of mind ही completely different होता है and that's fine, it suits them, ठीक है, so it is what it is and it's not something that cannot be developed over time, you know. Anybody does everybody has the capability to do it? Yes, absolutely yes, ठीक है, but does everybody choose to do it or even aware that they should do it? No, I'm not too sure about it.
Well, I mean, that's where I think choice is a big thing. Like, you can argue people are the product of their upbringing or whatever they've been exposed to. But I do inside me genuinely believe that you are at the end of the day responsible for the choices you make, and you can't use, there's a point where your childhood traumas or whatever it is stop becoming relevant, right? Everyone has to make a choice in any given situation. And I think the people who have lost ability to feel, so to speak, are people generally who keep choosing not to.
Yes,
you know,
absolutely.
to the point where they lose the feeling.
100%.
but I think it works in reverse, like cyclically. For example, like the choice to not feel something or to have that defense mechanism is the choice to not get hurt. ठीक है ना?
I mean, it's,
now that's how it
it's
is
the
in
ego,
your mind.
right?
Exactly.
Trying to defend itself.
id. ठीक है ना? तो if it's trying to defend itself, तो उसमें फिर मैं ये कहता हूँ यार कि ये it's the kind of stuff like why do people go to therapy? Why do people do psychedelics? So much of what you can call spirituality is just finding the self and what it is. ठीक है ना?
And overcoming it.
And overcoming it, or at least accepting it first.
Yeah.
ठीक है ना? Overcome तो उस चीज़ को करोगे जो आपको पता होगा exist करेगी.
Exactly.
So I think that for most of us, and I include all of us in this, is just a very big step to begin with. And
Right.
we're all in our journees somewhere in there.
Yeah.
ठीक है? So that dissonance with people usually happens when we're at different parts of our journeys.
Yeah, like agreed.
Yeah. But this comes back to the
Which
point.
is why I
though.
said that it's not that they're not
Capable.
of doing it. They are, but
Right, but it comes back to the point that if the important thing as a human, forget as an artist or anything else, as a human is to discover the self, ठीक है, overcoming it is a further step which few get to. But if that is the point, then where does doing music for commercial interests help that process, if at all? Like, that's my argument.
The thing
Because
is
I
कि
don't see how it really helps.
I think it did help. Because when you're on the flip side of the coin, you're out of your comfort zone.
Right.
You are standing in a space where you would not be if it came to you, if you had the power.
Well, in a way, you have
space.
to face your ego and even doing it, right?
Exactly. Like, you have to literally crush yourself and be there.
Yeah.
I think that's where the most growth happens. ठीक है ना?
Outside of your comfort zone.
Absolutely. You know, like.
Yeah, I definitely agree that you have to get out of your comfort
Because
zone.
वहाँ पे आप अपने आप के बारे में वो चीजें जानते हो जो कि आप वैसे आप सोचते हो कि ऐसा मैं हुई नहीं, मैं तो ऐसा हुई नहीं, ये ऐसे लोग क्यों होते हैं, ठीक है ना, मैं ये क्या कर रहा है, ये क्यों ऐसा, ठीक है ना. आप जब उस जगह पे पहुंचते हो तो आप कहते हो यार मैं यही कर रहा हूँ, मैं क्या कर, मैं shit, you know, like मैं कोई कम तो नहीं हूँ इससे, मैं भी यही हूँ. और फिर आप humble होते हो उससे कि यार नहीं यार,
It acts like a fitna sort of.
who the hell am I to think कि ये कुछ है और मैं कुछ हूँ, तो वो it's a humbling experience.
So, let me now take this in another direction. So, what would you say are the things that's held back our music community from really coming together? Because हर किस्म के problems हैं. We don't have, like, कभी कोई union नहीं बन पाता. There's still no minimum wage for a session player, or you know, for studio time, or any etiquette about any of this stuff. About copyrights, you know, लोग एक दूसरे गाने हमेशा steal कर रहे होते हैं, credit ले रहे होते हैं. There's no standard to anything. We're still one of the only places in the world जहाँ radio play के आपको पैसे नहीं मिलते. You know, so if again I would argue, if इतना humility बन रही होती लोगों की ये सब काम करके, तो कुछ हो जाता. But for most cases they're doing it selfishly.
बहुत deep इसका एक वो है, ये बहुत एक समस्या है. बहुत एक खतरनाक, बहुत deep इसके वो reasons हैं.
कोरोना डाइव क्या है?
जा रहा हूँ यार, तुम एक सेकंड
मार्च
रुक तो सही, बोलना तो दे. अच्छा,
बहुत डीप है यार, बहुत.
शट अप.
अच्छा चल ठीक है.
सारी मेरी थॉट प्रोसेस.
सॉरी
यार देख, सीन ये है कि एक कल्चर ऑफ डिसऑनेस्टी जो है ना हमारा, जो कि सेलिब्रेटेड है फॉर सम रीजन. आई थिंक वो अगर इफ नॉट एट द वेरी कोर, बिकॉज मैं इतना कोई साइंसदान नहीं हूँ, मैं बताऊँ कि यार ये वजह है असल में.
No, but just from your experience.
लेकिन आई थिंक that's definitely somewhere down there at the bottom. के it's everything from the way people are raised by their parents. ठीक है ना, क्या कहते हैं, to you know how they, of course they take all of that and they, that same mold grows into a harder version of that same mold. और वो basically वो मोल्ड ही फ्लॉड at the foundation, तो उससे आप क्या कर लोगे, ठीक है ना. तो ये चीज़ें आखिर, जैसे for instance, like I've lived here, I've lived in Saudi, I've lived in Russia recently, like I've had the experience of living there around 2 years. It's like it's enough time to understand के क्या कहते हैं Russians का क्या state of mind है, क्या culture है, ठीक है ना. तो you can draw comparisons and see कि अच्छा यार क्या हो क्या रहा है. यार फंडामेंटली हम चुतियाए हुए हैं.
चोर कौन है?
चुतियाए हुए हैं, फारिग हैं. मतलब हम, हमारे अंदर फंडामेंटल प्रॉब्लम्स इस तरह की हैं कि हम वो फंडामेंटली हम कोर पे डिसऑनेस्टी हमारे यहाँ सेलिब्रेट की जाती है, इंकरेज की जाती है. तो डिसऑनेस्टी के फाउंडेशन के ऊपर तो आप कुछ नहीं कर सकते ना. तो वो हमेशा, और फिर उसके ऊपर स्कार्सिटी जो है, स्कार्सिटी मतलब कमी जो है चीज़ों की, एक ने वाला है 100 खाने वाले हैं, तो वो जो कॉम्बिनेशन है इस तरह की, वो बेड़ा गर्क कर देती है. वो बेड़ा गर्क कर देती है, वो आपको नहीं अपने चीज़ के साथ लेजिट रहने देती. इसी चीज़ को अगर आप देखोगे कि इफ़ यू आर इन अ ग्रुप ऑफ लाइक माइंडेड पीपल फ्रॉम अ सिमिलर क्लास, क्या कहते हैं, तो वो कम हो जाएगी चीज़ थोड़ी, ठीक है ना. उनके चांसेस, सिमिलर क्लास के लोगों के चांसेस टू कोलैबोरेट एंड टू कम टुगेदर आर मोर लाइकली देन ऊपर नीचे के.
I think the class is also very important concept here, because I think we have as much as we like to say कि हम मुसलमान कौम है etc. Class system से हम बाहर नहीं निकले.
नहीं.
You know, class system
हम
or
पाकिस्तानी
race
तो बिल्कुल
system,
नहीं.
we're racist, we're classist,
Absolutely.
and so nothing can go beyond, as you said, this fear that you are belonging to.
हाँ नहीं, as far as
सर आप
prejudice goes,
देखें
we're
रशिया
very
का
rich in
हैंगओवर
culture.
मैंने क्या वहाँ पे ऑब्जर्व किया है. एक बार है वहाँ पे आप बैठे हो, मैं यहाँ बैठा हूँ, मेरे साइड पे एक बंदा है, क्या तुम एरोस्पेस इंजीनियर हो, यहाँ पे क्या प्लम्बर हो, तीनों गप्पे मार रहे हैं, कोई मसला नहीं है. कोई एक सेकंड के लिए मुझे फील हुआ हो कि कोई किसी के साथ नहीं बात कर रहा, या कोई स्नॉबी हुआ है कि यार ये क्यों,
हाँ,
कोई फर्क नहीं
अगर
पड़ता.
डॉक्टर किसी यानी ब्लू कॉलर वर्कर के
उन्हें कोई मसला ही नहीं, ये वाले मसले ही नहीं
Engineer अपने
है.
आप
ये
को
बहुत
क्या
ज़्यादा
समझता
लोकल
है.
मसले हैं. अब आई डोंट नो हाउ द अदर पार्ट ऑफ द वेस्टर्न वर्ल्ड एंड एवरीथिंग इज.
हमारे लिए ये सिर्फ क्रिकेट मैच के ऊपर होता है. Like, or you know,
only thing we
like
really
कल वो मुझे मीम कोई शेयर कर रहा था कि प्रोटेस्ट पे लोग मैच सुकून से मैच देख रहे हैं दोनों साइड्स.
बाकी एक चीज़ है.
we've achieved peace.
But then again, like growing up, it was like I either wanted to be a cricketer, and then I was like I want to be a musician, because I feel like at least then when you know Dil Dil Pakistan or Jazba Junoon type patriotic चीजें चलती थी, you felt like music.
You and Salman and 90% of all Pakistani musicians.
Yeah.
Everybody wanted to be a cricketer.
Yeah, but like it felt at that time that music had the potential to bring people together, and I think it still has the potential to,
Yeah.
but somehow we're not able to reach that. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we've just been becoming more and more disconnected with our actual selves and what we feel now.
Yeah.
And it's sort of celebrated now to be unemotional. ठीक है ना? By unemotional, I don't mean like just a broken mess all the time.
Yeah.
But just meaning क्या expression of emotions एक normal चीज़ है.
Stoic type.
ठीक है ना?
Well,
No,
and
there's
now
stoicism.
it's also cool to be emasculated as a man.
हाँ नहीं वो
Right.
तो
It's just
We know where that comes from.
yeah.
वो तो हम
I know, we know where that's headed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So not to step into that, whatever it is.
Yeah.
ठीक है ना? I think जो expression लोग पहले ज़्यादा express कर लिया करते थे अपने आप को. ठीक है ना? I don't know why they felt more comfortable. And even though like you could say our cultural, like we knew where culturally we were, like as a
I
country.
mean, I
as
feel
a
actually
region.
a little bit कि अब जो है एक तरफ लोग अपने आप को कम express कर रहे हैं than before, एक तरफ
ज़्यादा
पहले
कर
से
रहे
ज़्यादा कर रहे हैं. So there's like this split happening,
हाँ हाँ
right? And the two sides are being driven further and further from each other.
हाँ.
Like, you know, for instance, as any genuine songwriter puts out a song without tons of money behind it on social media,
Yeah.
even though whoever listens to it will resonate with it, but it doesn't go viral,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So there's something missing. The algorithm does not support that kind of effort.
that-
Yeah, what I've observed is like algorithm जो है ना, we keep blaming it on the algorithm. I think algorithm जो है वो is the direct depiction of what the people want. ठीक है?
And what the
It's
people want is fed by what is being fed into them also, right?
also that, which is degeneracy,
Yeah.
absolute degeneracy.
Yeah.
तो फिर वही होगा ना जो
Lowest common denominator stuff.
जो खाओगे वही
Yeah.
shit करोगे ना.
Yeah.
तो
Yeah, I mean, it's like, you know, film industry seeking to make, you know, item numbers and things like that. That's been a case for a long time.
हाँ इस region
But
में
because
काफी
it
सारे थे.
appeals to the most carnal, basic kind of, you know,
desires and
masses
everything.
instinct, right?
I think एक बहुत बड़ी गलती जो है ना, apart from चलो it's a multi-tiered thing, एक बहुत बड़ी गलती ये है कि even artists ना, like for example like musicians or filmmakers, whoever's working in the commercial sphere, हमें एक ये पट्टी हमने पढ़ाई हुई है एक दूसरे को और अपने आप को कि आपका listener, आपकी audience possible जो है ना वो dumb है.
Exactly.
ठीक है, ऑडियंस डम नहीं है.
audience
बिल्कुल नहीं है.
ठीक है, क्योंकि ऑडियंस
और
के सामने
स्मार्टफोन्स के साथ और भी स्मार्ट.
एग्जैक्टली और वो सब छोड़ो, आप एक कॉन्सर्ट पे खड़े हो,
हाँ.
द ओल्डेस्ट फॉर्म ऑफ एंटरटेनमेंट लोगों के
Yeah.
सामने. ठीक है, इफ यू आर नॉट डूइंग समथिंग दैट इज ट्रूली गिविंग दैट sort of value
Yeah.
in terms of their feeling,
Yeah.
what they feel. ठीक है, if you're not entertaining in terms of expression and like genuine musical expression, if you're not entertaining in a performant arts way, if you're not making someone laugh, if you're not doing what you're there to do, you will see people not react, ठीक है, or react badly. तो audience उतनी in tune होती है feelings के साथ जितने आप होते हो उस टाइम पे, ठीक है. तो live audience जाहिल नहीं होती उस टाइम पे, वैसे भी audience जाहिल नहीं होती. तो जहाँ तक इन एजेंडाज और वो चीज़ें हैं, तो जाहिर है whenever you otherize things and make something seem just of a higher status than all the rest of the things, then there are always going to be people who want to seem higher status.
एक और भी सीन है, एक और सीन ये है कि मतलब ये तो हम एक मास सारी ऑडियंस की बात कर रहे हैं ना. मसला सबसे बड़ा हमारे मुल्क में ये है कि एक टाइम पे एक चीज़ चल रही होती है, ठीक है ना, तो वही उसी चीज ने सारी टेंशन ली हुई है. दुनिया में जो है हर एक सब कल्चर का एक अपना सीन चल रहा है और वो साइड बाय साइड सारे चल रहे हैं. तो आप अगर अपनी ऑडियंस को नहीं अपील कर रहे तो वो तो कहीं भी कोई अपनी ऑडियंस के अलावा किसी और को नहीं अपील कर सकता. यहाँ पे तो मसला ये है कि वो एक कॉन्सर्ट हो रहा है, उस पे क्या कहते हैं ब्रालक भी आएगा, उस पे ये भी आएगा, फलाना भी आएगा, उसमें जब बीच में कराक्रम को चढ़ाएंगे स्टेज पे तो क्या खिचड़ी बनेगी, कौन क्या सुन रहा है. वो चार आगे लोग हेडबैंग कर रहे होते हैं, पीछे आंटियां कबाब खा रही होती हैं, ठीक है, बीच के लोग कंफ्यूज्ड होते हैं, बच्चियों को देख रहे होते हैं. तो एक ही जगह के अंदर आपने 100 चीजें घुसा दी और आप और हर बंदा ना खुश है कि यार मजा नहीं आया, क्राउड ऐसा था. यार क्राउड इसलिए ऐसा था क्योंकि जो तुम्हारा क्राउड है वो तो ये है ही, वो उसमें तो इसमें 100 लोग थे क्राउड तुम्हारे वाले के.
But then the challenge is how do you with the lack of venues, lack of people complain that there's no shows, but I always say that compared to being abroad, it's relatively easier to put up your own show here.
Definitely.
Right? Not many people make that effort anymore because I don't know, it's just too much stress putting up your own show and performing.
It comes down to money, to be honest. Putting up your own show comes down to the money. A lot of people who are willing to do something like that or take the initiative, they don't have the sponsors who would sponsor them. Sponsors only ride the train when it's already moving. ठीक है ना. So if some new guy comes from somewhere कि जी मैं बर्कली से पढ़ के आ गया हूँ और मैं बताता हूँ आपको कि सीन क्या है, और वो genuinely उसका सीन हो उस बंदे का कि यार मेरा ये सीन है, मैं आपको बताता हूँ क्या सीन है, वो कहेंगे भाई कौन है तू, गेट हेला और फिर कौन है तू, हम तो पैसे इसे दे रहे हैं बशीर को जो भी है, ठीक है, क्योंकि बशीर का सीन है, बशीर जिंगल्स बनाता है या जो भी मतलब बशीर.
I mean, do you think this brings me to another point which I've noticed is like, some of the bands that I really admire, they didn't get popular till their 5th, 6th albums, right? Opeth ko dekh lo. Porcupine Tree ko dekh lo.
Absolutely.
I mean, they were doing things to pay, like Steven Wilson was making ads, etc. anonymously to pay his bills, but he stuck to his art form, right? He never gave up on it, and it found an audience eventually, right? I think like there's very few examples of artists here that just keep putting out their art. There comes a point where they're like, we see nahi hai.
And the ones and the ones who have and the ones who have done it, they have at least made some impact.
Yeah.
They are the ones जो कि जिनका फिर नाम है कोई यहाँ, who stuck to their thing. Like even if you'd say like क्या कहते हैं हमारे जो पुराने हैं Vital Signs, Strings और ये लोग हो गए, they've stuck to doing what they were doing.
Yeah, they've been just doing it.
They kept putting out their music. Yeah. So
or even from in the indie scene, look at Porridge Boy. I mean, it's a very different band now than it was, but
absolutely,
they do have their biggest audience today.
Plus that happens with them.
Right.
Porridge Boys है, हम लोग हैं जो whoever like stuck through the times. लेकिन हमारे केस में हमने म्यूजिक इतना नहीं निकाला, हमें निकालना चाहिए, पड़ा हुआ बहुत कुछ.
It's never too late. It is never too late.
अभी निकालता हूँ यार, आप देखें आप हो गए.
Lekin like it also comes down to that, like how the people are going to know what you're about when you're not even putting it out, and a lot of bands give up even before they try.
Yeah, and I mean we are all coming from different backgrounds or different levels of financial opportunity that we have personally or
Yeah.
through sponsors or from, parents or our own accord. But the point is, as an artist, you have no excuse to stop putting
Stop
out
doing
work,
what you're
especially in
supposed
this
to.
era where it's so
बिल्कुल.
easy to produce, right?
बिल्कुल
definitely.
absolutely.
नहीं आजकल तो बिल्कुल कोई excuse नहीं है क्योंकि production is just down to you have a laptop that
Yeah.
can support some software. You're good.
बिल्कुल.
You can put
अच्छा
out
जो ये
something.
क्रिएटिव सॉर्ट्स होते हैं ना हमारी तरह के, वो सुस्त भी बहुत होते हैं.
और overthinking, I think.
ओवरथिंकिंग,
Like,
प्रोक्रेस्टिनेटर्स, सुस्ती.
पढ़े हुए गाने यार अभी ये perfect नहीं हुआ. Like,
हाँ,
ज्यादा
perfectionist भी हो.
ज्यादा है क्या perfectionist भी हो और
Perfectionist.
उसका आप सुस्त भी हो यानी
हाँ,
क्या
ये सब
करना
हमारे कीड़े हैं जो हमने ओवरकम करने, इंक्लूडिंग माई सेल्फ.
जो करना है बहुत अच्छा करना है
ये-
लेकिन और फिर कुछ नहीं करना.
ये मत हुआ.
And then depression के मारे हम
We're
like,
all guilty
हाँ.
of this,
We're
all of us.
addicted to different things,
हाँ.
whatever it is.
शादी हो गई तो रो रहे हैं, शादी क्यों हो गई, नहीं हुई तो बच्ची नहीं मिल रही, पता नहीं मसले चलते.
हाँ. बस write song about it, man.
Honestly.
Put it out.
सच्ची बात है, बिकॉज बाहर में मतलब जो मेरा लिमिटेड रशिया का एक्सपीरियंस है, वहाँ पे देखता हूँ हर बंदे का एक अपना एक शुगल उसने लगाया हुआ है और उसका सीन चल रहा है. कोई भी डिप्रेस नहीं है as such.
हाँ, हाँ.
Depression is not a thing.
I mean, it's become such a in thing now to self-diagnose yourself as depressed, right?
Also, I think
Like everyone can
ये
go
भी
through
है.
depressive emotions.
I think our culture
doesn't mean that you're depressed.
Just because it's a phase doesn't mean that
Yeah.
you're like
I think our
manic depressive
Yeah.
or
our
something.
culture and surroundings sort of breed those states as
Yeah.
well.
Also,
ठीक
the
है ना?
pharma industry wants you
वो
to
तो
feel depressed.
छोड़ ही
So
दो.
you
वो तो
can
पता
be
नहीं
on
किस
every
लेवल पे
kind of
अटैक
drug.
हो रहा है. वो तो आप माइक्रोवेव में चीज गर्म करें तो आपके साथ क्या हो रहा है आपको पता
हाँ, वो तो छोड़ मैंने फेंक दिया यहाँ से.
है. वाईफाई के सिग्नल
It wasn't enough to tell people not to use it. Throw it out.
फिर इस तरह की बातें करो तो लोग कहते हैं कि टिन फॉइल हैट का है तुम्हारी. नहीं, सारा है मेरा.
This guy's crazy, man. He's doing that crazy talk.
But yeah, I think we could talk forever on these things.
Definitely.
So, but it's been lovely having you guys,
Thanks,
and
bro.
we should do this more often.
We should do this
and
more
make
often.
more music together as well.
Definitely.
Hell
That,
yes.
that should be
we
on the
have to,
agenda.
yes.
Hell yes. अभी आया हूँ मैं इधर, करते हैं कुछ.
बिल्कुल.
वो तो सबसे बड़ा एजेंडा है इतनी बकवास करके कि म्यूजिक बनाना चाहिए.
हाँ, करने
म्यूजिक ना
वाले
बनाए तो ज्यादती होगी.
करने
मैं
वाले.
बता रहा हूँ हम नहीं बनाएंगे. मैं ये हम सिर्फ बातें कर सकते हैं, हम कुछ नहीं और कर सकते. हम ये बातें करेंगे, हम घर जाएंगे, सो जाएंगे. हम इसका लिंक जो शेयर कर देंगे, ये है देखो हम पॉडकास्ट हमने किया है. गाना हमने नहीं निकाला.
चलो भाई,
podcast
आग
हमने
का
कर
गाना
दिया.
अलिफ से
Podcast कर
करना
दिया हमने,
जरूरी हो
गाना
गया.
नहीं
देखा,
निकाला.
you heard it here first.
Yeah.
क्या what? Sorry,
now
I
we have
missed
to
it.
make a
आग
song.
का
here.
गाना इस ट्रिप में एक जरूरी है यहाँ.
बना दो तो मान जाऊँ मैं तुम्हें.
चलो, ड्रमर और गिटार प्लेयर, बेसिस्ट, वोकलिस्ट सब इधर बैठे.
Best कहानी. तो सब बेटा.
Yeah, thanks. It was awesome like talking to you. It always is.
Likewise.
Ultimate pleasure. बिल्लियाँ नहीं नजर आ रही हैं आज मुझे.
नहीं अभी आएंगे. अभी आएंगे.
उनकी भी एक गेस्ट अपीयरेंस यहाँ पे बिठा के उसे
Yeah,
स्ट्रोक
yeah.
करते रहो एक.
There's an idea. Making it difficult for him.
Welcome to the podcast.
But it's a little bit of kind of trivia fun fact is the Aleph Cat's sources right here.
Pretty much. Yeah, those are my wife's cats.
अगर आपको बिल्लियाँ सोर्स करानी हो तो आप इन भाई को फोन कर सकते हैं.
They're my wife's cats, and they needed a home. And Umair offered his home and has taken amazing
They're the
care
best
of them.
cats. The
Oh,
best cats.
you're the best cat dad, man, because they're so happy
Cat daddy.
and so fat. I'm so
Yeah,
happy at how
let's meet
chunky
them.
they are.
But,
और उनमें से एक तो खीरे खाती है, and I was like, what?
yeah,
वेजिटेरियन कैट भी है.
yeah. खजूर भी एक खाती है, खीरे भी खाती है. Full halal situation.
So
But
good
with that, we'll sign off. So thanks for tuning in. Please follow Aag on the social media, follow their YouTube, Spotify. They put out a compilation, an album recently, and watch out for the next episode. Thanks. Nice.
Cheers, bro.
Chalo, bhai.
Covered a lot.